Okay, my name is Bobby Vaught. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you so choose. In the description below, I'll put a link to lesson 1 of a series that I've done, Everything You Need to Know to Understand Investing, up to 17 lessons now. I'll put, and you go through the whole 17 lessons, you'll understand investing better than 99% of the people out there. I'll put a link to lesson 1 in the description below, and then each lesson has a link to the next one. So lesson 1 has a link to lesson 2, which has a link to lesson 3, and so on and so forth. Make them all real easy to find. Very heavy emphasis on the stock market, although pretty much covered everything else. More to come at some point when I get around to it. Today's presentation is not about that, however. There's two different parts of this channel. There's the investing side, which I just mentioned, and I also do a lot of political, economic, social commentary, that kind of thing, which in fact is going to be today. We're going to talk about Candace Owens here, okay? Let me just tell you right up front how I view Candace Owens today. She's a flake. Now, whether she employs very underhanded tactics in her presentation, I'm going to demonstrate that for you right here. Whether she does it, whether or not if she does it unintentionally, she's just a flake. Maybe she's not intellectually aware of the tactics that she's using or ever really thought it through. Or if she is aware of it, then she's just a con artist. Either way, she's a flake. I'm going to show you exactly why I say that right here. I first came to grips with the idea that Candace Owens is a flake roughly right at about 4 years ago. This is February 4th, 2026. It had to do with Ukraine, which I support Ukraine. She doesn't. But that's not why I called her a flake 4 years ago. The reason I called her a flake 4 years ago was because of her reasoning and understandings, how she went about her argument for not supporting Ukraine. In order to really get the full flavor of that, because this presentation is not about Ukraine, it's about something else. But to really get the full flavor of that, you'd have to, go back on my YouTube channel to when I was talking about Candace Owens some time ago. This presentation today here, however, is going to be about something else. Most of you are very aware of the controversy between Candace Owens and Turning Point USA, her accusations of Erica Kirk, other people at Turning Point USA perhaps, and or the CIA and or the Mossad, all being one or two or more of those entities all being in on this conspiracy to assassinate Charlie Kirk, which happened September 10th of 2025, just a few months ago. That would be 3, 4, almost 5 months ago now. Okay, so I want to turn the camera around. I want you to take a listen to some of the things she says here. Her presentation here, which she made in late 2025, is 53 minutes long. I could hardly go through the whole thing. It would take too long. If I had to comment on everything she says in 53 minutes, it would take 3 times that long, 3 hours roughly, just to comment on all of it, okay? So obviously not going to do that, but we're just going to take a look at some of the stuff that she says here and then analyze it, okay? I'm going to turn the camera around so you can really get the full gist of it here. And here we go.
Do you know that moment when your subconscious kind of meets your conscious? Like you just suddenly, your subconscious is storing all this information and it's maybe flagging something for you that's a little weird, but you haven't come to realize it yet. And then all of a sudden, the information breaks the surface and you're like, aha, I got it. I didn't even realize that that thing that happened a long time ago was a little bit weird. And suddenly you're behaving like Dory, the bluefish from the movie Finding Nemo, when she remembers the P. Sherman address from Australia. You guys know that moment. Take a watch.
I did find this a little comical. I just wanted to throw it in there.
Sil, Sydney. P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Road, Sydney.
Crime solved. Okay, that is how it works. Never ignore your subconscious. That's why I say pay attention to my dreams. I don't care who has to laugh at me about it. And there was this little something that flagged in the back of my mind as odd in the aftermath of Charlie's assassination. One of these things that might seem small, but it's always the small details that help to paint the broader and bigger picture, right? Elle Woods, in the movie Legally Blonde, she was absolutely correct when she said...
Okay, so you get the idea. Let's look at how Candace came up with her so-called...
that people who work out, they say be the adjective that
her, what do you call her, bluefish
came
moment.
to my mind.
Okay.
Heroic.
And...
Watch what happens when a 50-year-old man walks
got an
DHT
ad.
naturally for just 90 days. Day 1.
I also don't feel the need ever to
Just advance this up a little bit here. So I can't hardly cover all
right
of
would
this.
be .USA insiders. They're
Okay, so
interesting
let's start
facts.
about right here.
Fact number one, for whatever reason, in the month, and I'm going to make sure that I address my timeline here, in the month leading up to Charlie's death, Mikey McCoy was interested in...
Earlier in her presentation, right at the beginning of this particular show here, she says, "Oh, I got some new information for you." Hold on, folks. This is going to be groundbreaking news.
Capturing some behind the scenes footage, more intimate moments of Charlie's life. And I'm going to give you two examples of that, okay? Example number one, Charlie's very last overseas trip to Korea. Okay, this was 4 days before he died. For whatever reason, Mikey McCoy felt suddenly inspired to try his luck, miking up Charlie and capturing him on the road. And he says this is the first time he ever did it. Take a listen to Mikey McCoy explain that.
Today is really fun because Mikey and Blake are going to talk about their last trip with Charlie to Asia.
Yep.
And Mikey, you are now in the driver's seat. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that was just 3-4 days before Utah.
Crazy.
And it was Charlie's dream to always go to Asia, and Blake and I got the gift of being able to tag along for that. And so I brought
This is
the
Mikey
camera
McCoy here.
with me. I've never traveled with a camera before, but I decided, it'd be a good idea to mic Charlie up, do some content with him while we're there.
Okay? That is remarkable, obviously. For the first time, he decided to mic. It's not something that somebody does as a chief of staff. It's not something that somebody does in that role. Okay, I've traveled with Charlie everywhere. Very strange. The person that mics is always the AV person. And I would assume there were some AV people that were on hand given the trip. But anyways, that's not it. Okay, that's not just one point that we have. And don't worry, because I'm going to show you after I plotted all of this into our timeline. Just a few weeks before Charlie died, Mikey McCoy and his wife Eliza, for the very first time, now this is according to Eliza McCoy, she shared that it was the first time ever that they went on vacation. Her and Mikey went on vacation with Erica and Charlie. Here's that post on Instagram. That second paragraph begins, "We spent a few weeks together this summer, our first family trip together." Okay, getting real close there. And while they were on this very first time together for a couple of weeks vacation, something moved the McCoys to capture intimate and sweet moments of the Kirk family from behind the scenes. Now, you know which footage I'm talking about. It's the footage that has since gone viral of Charlie walking with his children and Erica. Erica grabs his hand. It's actually a very sweet moment, and it moved a lot of us. People were, I know I was crying when I first saw this footage a couple of days after Charlie died. Well, let me tell you guys something. Fortunately, the McCoys were the ones that captured that footage. See, my thing is I need to know what moved them to do that. Are they really just that extraordinary? Is it the extraordinary?
Okay. What she's engaging in here is, in conspiracy theorists do this all the time. It's called implication framing. That's all it is. Basically, you decide what you merely desire to be true in your own mind. That's what Candace is doing here. And then going back and looking through as many pieces of information as it takes to find, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 things, maybe more. And you can go through literally thousands of different pieces of information and find the 3 or 4, little things that just sort of implicate somebody. In this case, the implication framing is, it's just happens to be by coincidence that the McCoys were taking video of Charlie and Erica together, so they could be in the same camera shot together, and typically if it had been just Charlie and Erica traveling together, if it did just the two of them, they wouldn't be in the same camera shot. They would have been taking photos or video of each other. So for the first time, they go on vacation together, and Mikey McCoy just says, oh, well, since I'm here, why don't you let me take the camera so I can get you both in the same camera shot? And this is just some strange coincidence. This is the implication that Candace Owens has found. Suggesting, suspicious on her part. They just happened to want to do that a short time before Charlie was assassinated. Fascinating. This is really good stuff, Candace. I'm going to go through a couple of more things here. You can convict a cow of being a four-legged animal with the stuff that Candace is going to come up with here. It's all about, I feel, and this looks odd to me, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Let's keep going here.
Ordinarily lucky, Mikey McCoy, because I was thinking about it because I have a big family and people with families know. And you can go through Charlie's Instagram, as I have done. There's always one person missing from intimate family moments when they're on the fly. They're not planned, right? There tends to be one family member missing because one person grabs the camera and you're capturing the kids with dad, or you're capturing the kids with mom, or it's just the kids, whatever it is. That's how family footage, when it's organic, tends to look, right? And of course, on holidays, you get together, you stand up, you capture a picture. That is the pattern. If you go through Charlie's Instagram, Charlie's missing or Erica's missing, and that's because they're filming each other. But thankfully, the McCoys were on hand in what looks like mid-July or early August. Into early August, according to my sources, we will nail down these specific dates in the future. We are working on it, okay? Strikes me as odd that Mikey is just picking up the camera and capturing these moments. I don't know. For the first time ever, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And if I'm in Erica's position,
I just don't like it at all. This is pure emotion here.
I'm starting to look at him funny, like, what's going on here? Okay. Now let's bring in Daddy McCoy. Wouldn't say, he strikes me as something else entirely.
So she's going to talk about Rob McCoy, who is Mike McCoy's father, evidently.
And he similarly had some rather impeccable timing. Rob McCoy, as you very well know, was the senior pastor of the Godspeak Calvary Chapel in Thousand Oaks, California. You should also know, by the way, let me introduce this to you right now because I didn't know, that his church was funded by the Wilkes brothers down in Texas. The Wilkes brothers are the ones that fund Daily Wire, were, the initial seed money behind the Daily Wire, the initial seed, not the initial seed money behind PragerU, but they majorly fund Prager University as well. So that's an interesting web that's being woven before our eyes, right? You've got PragerU, and now you've got this church, and they are a part of what is described online as a cult. It's like Christians for Jews. You look into it yourself. I honestly can't explain it, but that's just something that you should know in the background.
Okay. So Christians for Jews is a cult now. Got it.
Anyway, for whatever reason, after 17 years as the head pastor of that church, Rob McCoy, it was publicly announced in January of this year that he would be stepping down as the head pastor and instead assuming the role of pastor emeritus. Now, for the uninitiated, emeritus is basically just an honorific title, right? Bestowed upon someone after they retire.
She says this year, she's referring to 2025, of course. This would have been made late in 2025, this presentation by Candace Owens here.
From some distinguished position. For Rob McCoy, they had planned that transition. That transition took effect in mid-July of this year. Okay, mid-July of this year is when he officially steps down from the church. A lot going on here in McCoy land. Now, in case you're thinking, well, that doesn't mean that he was doing all of that and transitioning because he was anticipating some bigger role at Turning Point USA and maybe therefore planning to wind down his life in California. No, actually, that's exactly the reason that was cited when it was reported on in January. In the Ventura County Star, they wrote, quote, he's approaching a transition in July. He'll step down as the senior pastor of Godspeak and hand the reins to his son-in-law, Micah Stevens. The church's administrative and worship pastor, McCoy, will become the emeritus pastor and will still preach regularly at the church in a role that could last into the mid-70s. And then it goes on to say when McCoy's responsibilities grew at Turning Point USA, he and his wife sold their home in Thousand Oaks and bought a home in the Phoenix area. Now he said that he...
Okay, you got the idea. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't cut her off too soon because, I wanted to make sure she got her complete point out. So let's just clarify this, okay? So, implication framing. First, you decide what you merely desire to be true, and conspiracy theorists are really good at this. And then you start looking through thousands of pieces of information until you find what you're looking for, the implication. In this case, it's because this guy Rob McCoy announced in January of 2025 that he was stepping down as senior pastor, becoming pastor emeritus, basically retired as a pastor, but an honorary position, but he may preach from time to time, who knows. But basically stepping down as senior pastor, and becoming pastor emeritus, and they sold a home and bought a home in Phoenix. And this is her implication of some wrongdoing by the McCoys or other people at TPUSA. Her accusations of Erica Kirk, including the CIA, including Mossad. This is nonsense stuff. It's a retarded tadpole could come up with this stuff. Let's continue up here because there's one other thing I wanted to get to here. If I can find it.
Across all 50 states trying to get Charlie and I in my inbox. I'm going to see what the normal security protocols are. Initially slated for this event to be inside, but it was very interesting. And guess what, guy? Because he was tweeting about the bizarre law, because he was doing propaganda rounds, deny perfectly normal thing to echo that statement. Explosive news for you that I can now beyond.
Okay, here's what I wanted to get to right about in here. Sorry for the delay there. All right, so here we go. Take a listen here. And this is the one that just really kills me.
Echoed that statement, and nobody had accused them. A thief runneth when no one pursueth, right? Well, here's some explosive news for you that I can now, beyond a shadow of a doubt,
explosive news,
confirm. Putting my name on this. Not only can I confirm this, but I can publicly challenge the very Zionist occupied Trump administration, who is aware of this, to deny it, to come out and say, no, that's not true. Okay? And if Kash Patel is done crying about the mean tweets on the internet regarding his sensational singing girlfriend, he can also certainly make the time of day to deny what I am saying if it is untrue.
We got it.
Right?
What is it?
Because this is pretty relevant. Now, I should say that some people had actually reported this earlier. Like Mel, I've been telling you to follow her, Village Crazy Lady over on X. She was actually very early with this reporting, and I had heard rumors and rumblings, but I wanted to make sure that I had verifiable proof, enough proof that I would go out on a limb, as I'm doing right now, and asserting that it is authentic and it is real. Ladies and gentlemen, there were, for whatever reason, 12
drum roll please,
Israeli cell phones on the ground at Utah Valley University the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. This has
12 Israeli cell phones on the ground at Utah Valley University the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Okay. You know what word she very conveniently left out right there? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's the word students. It's a university, so don't let the likes of Candace Owens deceive you. Like I said, Candace Owens is either a con artist or maybe she's just not intellectually aware of the tactics that she's using. Either way, she's a flake. Yeah, that's right, Candace. 12 cell phones, 12 students. The number of international students at Utah Valley was about 1,600 international students out of a student body of about 40,000. About 3% of its student body, 1,600 international students, many of them from Israel. There would have been international students from many places around the world on those grounds where and at the time that Kirk was killed, assassinated. The international students at Utah Valley represents over 80 different countries, and she carefully, like I said, she carefully avoids acknowledging that the 12 phones were owned by Israeli students. She simply says, and then she slows down her speech to help make the emphasis. Drum roll, please, folks. 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground at UVU the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Considering that Kirk had been a strong supporter of Israel his entire outspoken life, it would kind of make sense that students from Israel would show up. It makes perfect sense there were 12 Israeli students on those grounds at the time that Kirk was killed. I mean, we would be surprised if they weren't there. Students. They had their cell phones with them. Gee, who doesn't? I have my cell phone with me everywhere I go. I have my cell phone with me when I go to the grocery store. I'm going to take a pretty good guess. Most likely you do as well. Why would I take? I'm go to the grocery store. Last time I went to the grocery store was yesterday morning. This is February 4th, 2026. Yesterday was Tuesday, February 3rd. I went to the grocery store yesterday morning. I was only picking up just, a few items. I was gone only about 30 minutes. I took my cell phone with me. Why? Because, I don't know, what if my car doesn't start? I want to have my cell phone as I'm coming out of the grocery store. Something goes wrong with the battery or something. Who knows what? Maybe I want to have my cell phone with me there. It's habit. You take your cell phone with you everywhere you go. So if something happens to make life easier for yourself, like if your car doesn't start or who knows what could happen. Candace, 12 phones open in Israel. Let's continue here. Let's turn this back around.
Completely spooked the people that are very high up in government. Now, to be clear, I don't mean that there were 12 VPNs that were switched and routed through Israel on that day. I mean that there were 12 personal cell phone accounts that were opened in Israel, okay? Like you go into Verizon in Tennessee or in Connecticut and you open your phone. I am saying that they opened their phones in Israel, those accounts in Israel, and they were on the ground on September.
Yeah, that's right, Candace. If it's so they're Israeli phone numbers. If it's if the phone came from Tennessee, it would show that there were Israeli phone numbers. I mean, go figure. Candace loves to use these tactics, which can have an effect on very unsuspecting people who don't know how to analyze. It's called implication framing. In this case, a major leap. I mean, an extrapolation of near epic proportions, a leap from 12 Israeli phones on the ground, as she put it, 12 phones from Israeli students at a university with over 1,600 international students from over 80 countries, not just Israel. And this becomes her suspicion that Israel was behind the attack. Notice how Yeah, implication framing. In Owens's mind, I mean, there just must be something to that, right? She loves to use these implication framing tactics as weapons. First, proactively look for the implications to support whatever she merely desires to be true. 12 students' phones. And then comes the implication framing. Whether she is intellectually unaware she is using these tactics, simply a con artist, I'm not clear. Either way, she's a flake. 12 students' phones on the grounds at a university where international students exist, some of them Israeli. Go to see Charlie Kirk. Go figure. Kirk didn't even make the announcement public that he was speaking at Utah Valley. He didn't make that announcement, or TPS USA maybe, didn't make that announcement public until August 29, 2025. He was shot on September the 10th, 12 days later. So in order to believe in some Israeli conspiracy theory, that would mean that in a period of 12 days, Israel would have to organize some assassination attempt, send the students very late to register very late at Utah Valley U. The students would have to be, or maybe you would have students already there who would have to be convinced that their presence was necessary in order for the assassination to even take place, etc. I mean, how many of those phones were already students at UVU or attended there well before the announcement Kirk was going to be there was even made? You listen to her entire presentation there. She decides what she merely desires to be true, then selectively looks for the information to support her implications. Like I said, you could look through literally, who knows how long you would have to dig. You could literally dig through 1,000 pieces of information until you find the 3 or 4 things that appear like coincidences, including, as we recall, Mikey McCoy and his wife went with the Kirks to Korea and said, oh, well, as long as we're here, let me use the camera so both of you, Charlie and Erica, can be in the same camera shot. I mean, these are major, major leaps here. Like I said, you couldn't convict a cow of being a 4-legged animal with the stuff that Candace comes up with here. She is a master at implication framing. That's all it is. Conspiracy theorists are very good at this. Implication framing. Pointless. I'm going to leave it right there. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you so choose. If you're interested, there's also that 17 lesson series that I did. Everything you need to know to understand investing. I'll put the link to lesson 1 in the description below. Until next time, hope life is treating you well. You have a great day.